The final full trailer, at least I think it's probably going to be the final full trailer for season 3 of Stranger Things has dropped. I'm a little late to the party on this, but better late than never. So what are my thoughts? Let's talk about it. It's a fucking shit show. What you think you see, what you think you hear, that's what it's about. Mood and atmosphere. No, it's fucking garbage. It's garbage. Mood and atmosphere. Now that I really like. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I want to see. Hey folks, how you doing? Dave McRae here. Okay, yes, in this video, I just want to give you my quick thoughts on the final trailer. Like I said, it's probably going to be the final full trailer for season 3 of Stranger Things. Okay, so what did I think about it? Well, first of all, number one, I really liked it. I did. And I loved the large scale feel of this season. And there's two things I like about this. There's the scale in terms of the stakes within the narrative itself. Definitely things feel like, oh shit just got real. We are definitely progressing that narrative into an area we have not been before. The stakes are at a certain level they have never been at before. And definitely when you get into season 3, you gotta go there. I mean, things have to evolve. We have to keep moving forward. Although I liked season 2, and although it was different from season 1, it was a little too similar to me. I mean, my favorite episode tends to be everybody's least favorite episode, which I think was episode 7, I think. The one where Eleven goes off on her own into the city and she meets those other kids and blah, blah, blah. That was my favorite episode. Now, I did like some of the others as well, but that was my favorite because it was the most different. I found it was a lot of the same for me in season 2. And season 1 is still my favorite. So, when you get to season 3, it's like, we got to evolve. I mean, the kids are no longer kids anymore. They're teenagers. There's a lot of teenage things that they're going to be interested in. There's a lot of things that are going to be coming their way that they have to go up against when you get to be teenagers. And I don't mean stuff that they're dealing with in the actual, like, science fiction part. I'm just talking about teenage shit, guys and girls and sex, drugs, and, you know, all that kind of stuff, right? So we need to see that progression within their characters. And I think we are going to see that. So definitely the stakes within the story look bigger and larger, and I like that. But also the production value looks bigger and more epic. I mean, if I didn't know about this show and you were just to show me this trailer, and this was my first time seeing anything to do with Stranger Things, I would have no issues believing that this was a major motion picture science fiction epic being released by Sony or Universal, Warner Brothers, you name it, coming out this summer. I'd have no issues. It looks like a large scale production. The production value looks big and epic. And that's always, I mean, that's exciting. I mean, that looks fun, right? So definitely the stakes look larger within the story itself, and the production value looks larger as well. So that's always kind of fun. I love the voiceover with Jake Busey, I think his name is. I wrote it down here. Yes, Jake Busey, the son of Gary Busey. That definitely, the voiceover we hear at the beginning, definitely I think is Jake Busey. And the ominous sort of things that he's saying sort of sets the tone not only for the trailer, but for what to expect. He gives us a little bit of what to expect in terms of those, you know, stakes again within this story. And it sets up that, okay, you made it through season 1. You made it through season 2, but this is something you have not faced yet. You thought you were fucking, now we're going to take it up. Right. And so that's exciting. And I love sort of the ominous tone that he sets. I like the fact that, you know, obviously, Will says something like, well, maybe when we closed the gate, something was left behind, right? It's like, oh, cool. What is that something? Now, when they start talking about, you know, it needing a host and all that kind of stuff, and obviously they show Will and they show, you know, the goosebumps on the back of his neck, and you're like, oh, fuck, is it going to be Will again? there's no way they're going to utilize Will in season 3 in the same way that they did in season 1 and 2. You've got to move away from Will because it's just too redundant. And sure enough, I think they are and will. And of course, they allude to the fact that maybe it's going to be Billy. Maybe Billy is the host. Now, that definitely could be some misdirect, okay? Because how you edit things together and where you place the dialogue definitely can add misdirect. And they do that intentionally to keep things fresh and exciting so you don't know what to expect at the end of the day. You just get a sense of what to expect. So definitely could be some misdirect, although you could take that at face value. And my first thought was, oh, making it Billy, I get why you would make it Billy, because at the end of the day, he's pretty expendable. But if it were me, I wouldn't make it Billy. I would make the host somebody that the audience and the characters care more about. Now, unless Billy has a complete 180, and it's kind of like he has a Steve moment, right? Where we kind of hate Steve for the most part of season 1, but then we kind of really start to like him towards the end of season 1, right? And then, of course, we love him in season 2. So I don't know if Billy's going to have that kind of a moment. So to make him the host, it's like we already don't give a fuck about him. So I don't give a fuck that he's turning into this monster or that he becomes this monster or that his life is in danger. I really don't give a fuck. I really don't give a fuck. And I need to give a fuck. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying you make it Will. I'm just saying that maybe, I don't know, maybe it's Hopper, or maybe it's a combination of a couple of people. Like maybe it's something. It just seems like if it ends up being Billy, I just feel a little, it's okay. Who gives a fuck? Right? And again, these are my first impression thoughts seeing the trailer just a couple of times, right? This could be misdirect, or it could be Billy, but then there could be other things in there where you're like, oh yeah, of course, I didn't get that. And you know, when you add this, that, and the other, it makes sense. And now all of a sudden I really care because of something else that they've added. So that's entirely possible. But when they allude to the fact that maybe Billy is going to be the host, I was like, I don't care. Good. Somebody make him the host and somebody shoot him in the fucking face. Like, I just don't give a fuck. So that was a little kind of, you know, and then that made me think maybe somebody needs to die. You know, I'm not talking about one of the main kids. I mean, that would be like, oh, you know, but the stakes for me need to go in a direction where I need to feel it. Like, don't pull that Marvel shit where you kill everybody, but then you just bring everybody back. No, maybe you really do need to off a character. Maybe not one of the main kids, but maybe you need to off Nancy, you know, although I guess she's sort of become one of the main kids, but you know what I mean when I say that. Maybe you need to off Steve, you know, maybe you need to off, you know, Nancy's parents. You know, Mike's parents, right? Like maybe, like just something to give it some weight, something to give it some depth, where by the end of the season, you're like, wow, they really did off that character or those characters. Somebody that maybe you don't have a real hard emotional attachment to, but maybe somebody that you're like, oh shit, I didn't see that coming. Because if Billy dies, I don't think we give a fuck. I really don't. I don't think we care. You know, if he can be redeemed, okay, but don't do that. You know, so anyway, that's kind of how I feel about that, but who knows how that's going to play out. I like Starcourt Mall. I like the look of the mall. I like all the, you know, the product placement and all the old logos and shit like that. That's really cool. And I'm very curious. I'm thinking that there's something going on underneath the mall, because in the show, it's a new mall that's opened up, right, in the town of Hawkins, and everybody's excited about it. I think that mall has been built on top of something. And I don't mean the cheesy, cliche Indian burial ground, you know, thing. I just think that there's something underneath the mall. Maybe there's some tunnels that led from Hawkins' lab, even though Hawkins' lab was supposedly shut down. Maybe there were some tunnels that led to, you know, where the mall was built and all that kind of shit. Who knows at the end of the day? But there's no doubt that the mall is sort of a gateway. It's an entranceway to the upside down or to another dimension. And speaking of other dimensions, I really love those shots of Eleven on the beach. I don't think she's in reality there. I I sense that that is another world. That's not necessarily the Upside Down, although it could be, obviously. I mean, the Upside Down is sort of the other dimension in this show, but it could be even another realm beyond the Upside Down, something else as well, connected to the Upside Down, an alternate reality of some kind, even though the Upside Down is kind of an alternate reality. But I think you know what I'm trying to say, right? Really cool shit. And the shot of her, you know, the aerial shot with the storm around her and she's in the eye of the storm. Some nice symbolism there. Love that shot. That's at the very least, that has to be the Upside Down. Some other alternate reality, I think, that is playing into. And I like that. I like that shot. I like the potentiality of what that all could mean. It looks like we get a couple of epic battles in this season. Like, there's no doubt that Starcourt Mall is the epic conclusion. I mean, that's where the epic battle is going to take place, but it also looks like there could be some epic battle that happens at a hospital as well. So that's really cool. I think we're going to see some, a couple of epic battles, if you will, in this season, because there's also the amusement park as well. Not the amusement park, but the fair, right? You know, the local fair. So that might be really cool too. I love the Terminator kind of guy, you know, with the jean jacket and the 80s haircut, kind of has an Arnold Schwarzenegger sort of vibe to him. There's no doubt that him and Hopper are going to go up against each other. Really curious to know more about him. Definitely, one thing I want to say though, there's a shot that is of Hopper and Joyce holding hands. And although it could just be them holding hands because of the environment that they're in, like, oh my God, you know, we need to hold hands, you know, to feel safe. I know the writing is pretty much on the wall that Hopper and Joyce are probably going to get together at some point. They've definitely hinted at that and alluded to that. I have always been of the mind that I don't want to see that. I don't buy it, at least not now. There's nothing about Hopper and Joyce in season 1 or Hopper and Joyce in season 2 that makes me believe there's any long-term longevity, if you will, for a relationship between Hopper and Joyce. Joyce is far too neurotic for Hopper, and Hopper is far too independent. He's far too a dude, a guy for Joyce. I mean, maybe they could have some sort of fling where, you know, they bang for a couple of months or something, but there's no long-term longevity there. Not at all. I don't believe that they would end up together. I understand there's a history there. They've known each other for a long time. I understand that there might be a little bit of sexual tension there. Okay. But I mean, I just don't think you need to have them get together. I don't, but now unless season 3, something happens within their characters that changes my mind, that feels organic, it doesn't feel shoehorned in, and I'm like, okay, all right, maybe, all right, okay, fine. But you really got to sell me on it, because right now, I'm not buying it at all. I mean, listen, Winona Ryder she's cute. I mean, sure. I mean, she's always been attractive, but her character of Joyce is, you know, I mean, I go out on one date with that, I'd be like, it ain't happening. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't, and Hopper seems, although he's more independent and he's not necessarily a stable guy, he seems more mentally stable than Joyce. So I just don't buy it. I just don't buy it. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping that's just them holding hands because they're like, you know, because of the environment that they're in, right? It looks good. I mean, I'm excited for it. But I definitely, the last thing I want to say is this. One of the real great things about season 1 was the mystery of it. It had that small town mystery. And although you can't keep things small when you progress, because you have to open it up, because you have to evolve, I really hope there's a strong mystery aspect to season 3, that they don't lose that, because I can't tell you how many, like when I watched the first season, at the end of every episode, I was like, I gotta fucking watch the next episode. I mean, I gotta find out what happened. The cliffhangers and how they ended every episode in season 1 was beautiful. It was perfectly timed with a thought or a question or whatever it was. And you're like, fuck, you know, and then that music kicks in and you're like, Jesus, I gotta watch the next episode. What the fuck is going on here, right? Season 2, A little bit of that. Yes, there were some episodes where I was like, oh fuck, I gotta find out. But there were some episodes where I could have a break, go get some lunch, go out for the day and catch up a day or two later, right? I didn't feel that need to find out what happened next right away. So I'm hoping that season 3 still has a mystery aspect to it, because that was really compelling. That was what drove, that season 1. And again, although I know you can't keep everything ambiguous because you have to open things up because you're progressing the narrative, I hope they don't lose that part of the identity of what made Stranger Things so cool. So anyway, yeah, so that's kind of how I feel about it at first glance. It looks good. It looks good. I could dive deeper and deeper if I had more time, but unfortunately I don't have more time. I got some voiceover work I got to attend to. So anyways, my name's Dave McRae. Comment below and let me know your thoughts. What did you think of this probably final full trailer for season 3 of Stranger Things? Comment below and let me know. I'd love to know. If you want to follow me on Facebook, you can at facebook.com/manythingsdavemcrae. That's where I tend to post in the meantime and in between time. I'm not posting here. All the links are in the description. Check them out until your heart's content. And once your heart is content, check them out again. So yeah, I'll be back soon. Yeah, comment below and let me know your thoughts. Alrighty. Cheers.